Hey folks, so we have arrived at our first quarter waxing moon. It's a fire moon. The moon is in Leo, and so we are moving into this phase. It is another active phase. We spent some time in the last recording for the moon series with the dark moon, in which we were working with our shadow. So whatever that means to you, whatever came up, whatever you experienced, thought about, processed, journaled, integrate, explored through art, dance, movement, meditation, that dark moon phase, whatever came up at that point around what you are working through as a transmuting the I soul. We move into this first quarter moon where the light is growing, right? So strong light is coming in to help us bring focus to that which we were mixing in our cauldrons during that dark moon, right? What were we exploring? What were we processing? I know for me, there was some real deep work that was being done, and a subsequent healing and release that occurred right as the new moon hit. So now we're in this first quarter moon. Things are starting to light up. It's offering us this energy of half shadow, half light. So we're still a little bit in whatever we were moving around in our cauldrons, and now we're starting to move into the light to kind of see it from a different perspective. During my meditation, I thought about Mary Magdalene and stepping into the energy of Mary Magdalene as our base card. Just really thinking, like, she actually came to me to remind me of this idea of balance, right? The half light, half shadow space that is the waxing first quarter moon. Now, I will say for, it is a Leo, it's in Leo. And so the idea is that energy of Leo will offer us this energy of, like, whatever it is that we were stirring, mixing in during our dark moon contemplations, is like we're being given the energy that we are moving, we have the ability to move toward what it is that we want to move toward because of our obvious worth. We are just simply worthy by breath. And that it is, in the Leo energy, it is your divine right to succeed, at whatever success might mean to you. And so with Mary Magdalene's energy, so you don't need to be a Christian to engage Mary Magdalene, obviously. I am not a Christian, but I do enjoy Mary Magdalene's energy in terms of one of the ways that I define the energy of Mary Magdalene is this understanding of divine balance, of the need for both our sacred feminine and our sacred masculine selves being engaged and in a harmonious energy, right? And so, and balancing, it's not 50-50 as we kind of, even with the phases of the moon, right? As you can kind of see with the moon, that first quarter moon where it's considered a half moon, depending on where you are and when you look up, like, you know, you might look up and see the moon and it looks completely half, right? But it could also look like it's, you know, moving in between half and half, right? So that's kind of how you want to think about balancing when we're transmuting. It's not like, this is not, a way to think of it is, we're not talking about equality, we're talking about equity. Right, so there is a polarity, a spectrum. It's not a binary. You're moving back and forth between the shadow aspects of really going inside and figuring out, taking time to strategize so that as the more light comes, we have greater clarity and understanding of what to act upon. So let's see what Mary Magdalene wants to offer us. The first power. Darkness makes vision possible. And I kind of want to see, let's see, what is below that and what is above that. So actual energy of Mary Magdalene, she's holding, so she told me when I was sitting in meditation, she definitely did come to me and was like, hey, I really want to be supportive and part of this. And so that's what's holding this offering of the first power. Darkness makes vision possible. And then above that is the seventh power. Anger is information. Let me explain what the first power is according to this particular oracle. This is the Mary Magdalene oracle. The list of cards I'm using will be in the description. Darkness is a power of the ego that can convince us we're alone, separate, and disconnected. Sometimes darkness comes so we can practice a form of vision that becomes possible only when all sources of external light leaves us. So I really appreciate that, because remember, we're coming off of the shadow work that we did during the dark moon about a week ago. And so, yeah, shadow work gets a bad rap because everyone, a lot of people define shadow work as really, as always tough, as always, I gotta go deal with my shit kind of idea about shadow work. And whereas it can be that, and sometimes it is that, it also is an opportunity. Shadow work is an opportunity to understand how to how the ego, because of the construct, what the construct has done to our psyches, to our experiences of this body, of this human, of ourselves as human. Often it is to elevate, often it is to push out of balance our sense of selves and our ego, because that's how this construct works. And so, whereas the being in that shadow space can be really hard, it's the pain that's it's not being in the space, it's the pain that can come with that's difficult. Shadow work also can feel like we are really alone in it, and a heaviness can come from that, because we are a species that's meant to be in community and in collectivity with each other. The thing to remember is that understanding darkness in terms of the fact that there's a vision that's available to us within that closed off nature, within that closed off in terms of like taking all the other energy that a busy, overly lit construct has us in, taking that away allows us to step into seeing ourselves, our situations in a different light. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a friend this morning, and we were talking about when folks have the opportunity to slow down, to do nothing, it can be really difficult for a lot of people who have never experienced that. And that's like offering folks a space to be silent is really beautiful. And also that silence can be really loud. And that's the first power, is like understanding that though it is loud, there's medicine in that loudness, because it allows you to dip into the light of you. In that darkness, you can dip into that divine spark of who you are. And so I think coming out of, so I think the message I'm getting, many folks who did some shadow work, particularly with this new moon in Aries and everything else that was happening astrologically, there was a lot of purging, and it was really intense purging for folks. And so knowing that that's the space that we're in, that darkness makes that vision possible as the light is coming in. The only reason you know that there's light coming in is because there's an understanding, there's an experience of the shadow, of the dark. And know that holding you, no matter what you're going through, holding you is Mary Magdalene. right? That you are loved, and that love is the basis. Love only ever expands. What it's going to do is love is going to expand your understanding. Look at the light coming off of her all around, right? So love is going to expand your understanding of what's deep within you, that spark, your divine spark. So hold on to that. Lean into the energy of Mary Magdalene as you're processing whatever was brought to you during your shadow work of the dark moon phase. Now above this, or like maybe perhaps, I say above and not necessarily next, because this is not linear, right? So if you consider your experience, your journey as a spiral, somewhere in the spiral is the seventh power. And that seventh power is rage. And so we could be coming into like maybe Mary Magdalene is getting us ready to, in the light of understanding of that rage, that in the rage that might become clear that there is information in that anger, right? I just said it backwards. Anger is information. The medium for this deck says, it has always felt significant to me that rage is the seventh power. Rage can be the most derailing force in our lives, but first it's crucial to distinguish between the rage that brings destruction and the rage that brings clarity. The oppressive need to appear good, to not express what we truly feel, forces many of us to stay stuck in the process of healing from trauma. There's a false narrative that to be spiritual, you have to be in a perpetual state of bliss or peace and never fall to the ground in a fit of rage. Being angry is human, and being human is holy. Anger is information. Anger informs us, connects us to our humanity, and reminds us of what we care most about in our lives. Yeah. So consider that if some of what you were processing, releasing is likely like shadow work is meant to help us release from the trauma of being human in this construct. And so yeah, it could be as we move into greater light, like perhaps, consider that what one might be moving into as the light comes in and the full moon arrives is an understanding, a clarity of the anger one has because of the wounds inflicted and the remembering or the processing, the experiences, the spiritual travels one did during the dark moon in the healing process. And so just a reminder that there is information in that anger. There is such thing as a righteous rage, right? The difference between the rage that clarifies and the rage that destroys is one that is simply experienced directly and the other is acted on. Anger informs us, but love is what we can let guide us when we're ready to take action. Love only ever expands. Comes back up here. Like she's reminding that you get to be angry. You do get to be angry. It's what we do with that anger. Rage can be righteous, but what do we do with the rage of what we're experiencing, particularly in this construct that's trying to squeeze, those of us who are sweet, sensitive souls, right? Or caring souls, or like that would bring the type of person that's going to be looking at a reading like this. I would imagine you're a sweet, sensitive soul. The rage that we hold as sweet, sensitive souls, people get compassion and empathy quite twisted. They don't, there's sometimes a misunderstanding of the depth of feeling and the energy that comes with. And then, and I'm getting like, so we're in a fire moon, right? So that fire moon, that waxing fire moon, is definitely stoking us that we have every right to our anger. It's our divine right to that anger. And remember, what are you doing with it? And that love is what, you can choose to fall into the despair of contraction. And we can choose to fall into the love of expansion. So let's see what what offering of considerations of what does it mean to love to step into the energy of Mary Magdalene's love, to hold both, which I love. It's like it's hold both the shadow work that we're doing, the darkness makes vision possible, and also moving into the light, that anger gives us information. That what does it mean to be in both of those realms? That we're not in either or, we are in both and. Beautiful. So this deck has two sections of cards. It has the journey cards, which are similar to the major arcana in that they're larger energies being offered. Think of it as like when the planets do their thing and they offer us a particular energy with which we have free will and choice. We get to decide what we're going to do with it. Very similar with the, which, you know, it's interesting, right? So I started this out thinking above and below that we're in this spiral. So the transmute card is the opening card. It's the Fool card. It's the understanding that as someone who is transmuting the I on this self-inquiry path, you have trust that you have the power to transmute. And that means going into your cauldron. That means going into the dark moon, being in the energy of the dark moon. The card that, and that's with the first power, the card that comes with the seventh power, that there's anger and information, is Love Actualized, which is the World card. That the energy of being transmuted and alchemized. So there's something about that, you know, I'm getting like that rage and anger can be very clarifying, not just to your vision, but to your soul's path. Again, it is about what we do with it. There's a difference between the experience of it and acting it out upon others. And in terms of that holding on to love and its expansion, as opposed to rage in terms of the out of balance, toxic masculine experience of it that we know oh so too well. The energy, the offering is integrity. It's this idea of wholeness, as we were saying, like the wholeness of you, both shadow and light. And what can help you in the energy of love only ever expands is to integrate choice and free will into your definition of value and what is possible, right? So what is possible as you're coming into whatever it was that you're working through in your shadow work, as we come into this first quarter moon where things are starting to be a little bit more clear. The offer is to remember you have choice to integrate into your definition of value and what is possible, that there is free will, that you are not beholden to how the construct sees you, tells you you are, or the wounds that might have come up during the wounds, the path, the anger, the experiences that came up during the shadow work, that you are not defined by that. That is not your value. And to integrate that with a sense of love, like deep self-love, love that you are worthy, right? Dip into that Aries energy of the powerful understanding of how glorious yourself is. Think about a lot of like really balanced Leos. They're both love themselves and love the world, right? It's the both and. A really balancing Leo is a really person who holds that balancing energy wherever that Leo energy shows up in their natal chart. You'll know that energy of really being in that space of someone who loves themselves so much and the cup overflows and they share that with the world. That's a really beautiful energy to be around. So really beautiful that, yeah, in the spiral, as we're moving toward that full moon, stepping into both the shadow and the light allows us to transmute and to know that love is actualized, right? We are transmuted and we are alchemized in whatever it is, that shadow work that we're doing. It is possible to transmute that. And healing is a spiral, right? There's that's why I talk about healing healers. Of that, I think that I was mentioning to a friend that my dark moon work was like understanding that what I was revisiting, really was revisited upon me, was things that I have been in the process of healing. And sometimes there's like healing, I call them healing patches, right? There's a deepening to the healing that I'm experiencing, the wounds that I've experienced, particularly in childhood, that sometimes, I'm healed, something has been healed, and then there's a deepening of that healing, and I sometimes will call that sort of healing patches are happening. And so there's a constant process, a spiral of I'm transmuting, love is actualized, I'm transmuting, love is actualized, right? And to transmute and be in this back and forth between being in the darkness, being in the light, being in the darkness, being in the light. A way to support that is to integrate choice and free will into one's definition of value and what is possible, that all of this stuff can be whole and that it is a spiral, not linear. I want to pull a card, like moving forward into the full moon, just to sort of give us an idea of, as we move more and more into the light, something to consider as part of our process in this moon phase work that we're doing. Growing pains. Number 19, 9, 10, 1. Healing, patience, unconscious. All right, so that, I love it. Thank you, universe. So we're in that process. I was like talking about, we're in the spiral. There's all these spirals all over. You notice there's spirals all over, spirals. This idea of like we're on our journey, and part of that journey is this idea of the growing pains, and that work that we're pulling up during that shadow work is going to continue to look at the light coming in, right? As that full moon comes in, more will get illuminated. And part of that, what's getting illuminated because we're doing this integration, this transmuting and actualization, is healing. And to be patient with yourself, because also a lot of what's happening is within the unconscious. So it's not necessarily fully able to be seen at the conscious level. And that, again, that's okay. I mean, I love that our main card here is, this is our divine spark within. This is the eye of her heart. This is that which is deep within us, the work that we're doing to heal ourselves from the construct, all these things, all these woundings that have come at us because of mechanisms of power over white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism. These things are painful. They are designed to inflict wounds and power over us. And we are in the process of doing this work of growing beyond the box that the mechanisms of control have put us in. And you're doing wonderfully. Right, the light is coming in, possibly at an unconscious level. I'm gonna go ahead and read some of what this. This is by far one of my all-time favorite decks. If you're looking for a deck and you're interested in a really beautiful, well-thought, magical, witchy oracle deck, I can't recommend this one enough. And so this is Growing Pains, Healing, Patience, Unconscious Self-Awareness. The affirmation spell that this medium offers is, I trust in the process of my healing. Trust that you have the power to transmute. I love it. It's in balance. Trust that you have the power to transmute. So for someone, and I can empathize, whatever came up during this Aries new moon with everything else that was happening was powerful. It was powerful. A lot of us released some real deep, heavy shit, or are releasing. I would even put in the past tense, are releasing. And that process is, anger is information. I know as well. It's producing different moments of rage, of like, having experienced what I experienced, and a little bit of anger, that I have to spend time healing this shit. And another friend was like, well, from her perspective of life, she chose this, this path. She chose this path of like experiencing her soul, experiencing this human body, and the process of healing, the process of forgiving, the process of moving through this spiral of ebb and flow of experiences, and knowing that, like the moon, we're going to be in that, we're going to be in our inner selves and move out into the world, be in our inner selves, move out in the world, and be in that flow. All right. The healer. So this number 19 is the healer, the garden that tends itself, the therapist. All right, I was talking about the healing healers. This is the healing healers. You seek to be an awakened one in your family. This isn't always easy, as it invokes taking on a larger responsibility and role in your lineage. You are seeking something more fulfilling, truthful, and of the heart. Ashe. This requires patience with your psyche and security within your soul. By living intentionally and choosing to be conscious of the choices you make, you are activating transformation at DNA level. Transmuted and alchemized. Like you're activating, I love it. Like you're activating, there's your cauldron. You are activating. Sorry, I lost my place. You are activating transformation at a DNA level. This can be felt at a collective consciousness, love actualized. That's when we, by the time we get to love actualized, we've done so much work in the shadow of ourselves, and then so much work in the light of the collective. We have transmuted and alchemized this particular aspect of ourselves. This can be felt at a collective consciousness level as well. This is powerful work. Your ancestors are so proud to have passed the torch down to you, which is why when I was sitting in meditation around this, Mary Magdalene came in deep, right? An ancestor of us all. You have done so much already, far more than you know. Pulling the growing pain card invites you to employ more patience with yourself on your healing journey. You are unlearning and undoing generations of toxic patterns and beliefs. This will naturally be challenging, uncomfortable, and even painful at times. This is why they are called growing pains. They are a necessary part of healing. This card also wants to remind you that you were chosen for this path, that your soul chose this mission of healing for you. And I just said that's what, it's interesting because I brought it up that my friend said that because I wasn't, the stuff that I'm moving through, I'm kind of like, fuck, who would choose this? Like I didn't choose to, experience abuse as a child. And also I'm not judging anyone else's ideas. But anyway, this card also wants to remind you that you were chosen for this path, that your soul chose this mission of healing for you. This is your initiation. This is what walking through the fire looks like, so you may reach that peaceful, abundant valley. I also want to be really clear. This is not saying that there's not a requirement of accountability and responsibility for people who have created pain, who have been the abusers, have wounded others. That's not what this is saying. At least I'm not reading it that way, just so we are clear. Be proud of yourself and continue to do your best as you find your way. Celebrate small victories, like when you set boundaries or are less reactive or break a toxic trait or don't repeat the poison of the past. This is the work, and you have accepted your mission whether you realize it or not. And I think that's where, like, especially the rage that could come in from experience deep negative experiences on your path, on your journey, there's information in that rage to learn like what to do with that rage. Like it mentioned the difference between direct experience of the rage and acting it out upon others. So direct experience of the rage is like knowing what that rage is telling you. I'm going to create better boundaries. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be responsive to this BS, but I'm not going to be reactive. I'm actually going to break this trait. Like this is an experience I had from my mother because my mother had it from her mother and her mother had it from her mother, and like that. So breaking, like being really clear, I will no longer behave this way. I will not repeat this on my children or in my relationships. That's part of the work. The manifestation enhancer for this: get your journal and write out the small or big ways in which you have already healed yourself. Beautiful. Give yourself the recognition you deserve. Yep. Love actualized, transmuted, and alchemized. So where are the places that you have transmuted and alchemized? Like I said, like this is a spiral. There are places we have healed and we are still healing. But give yourself credit to the places you have healed. Give yourself the recognition you deserve. Love yourself for all the times you chose to do better. Love only ever expands. Even when nobody was watching or patting you on the back for it, even when your family or friends don't see all that you have overcome, instead, see yourself. You are a chosen healer. Trust that you have the power to transmute. Ashe. Thank you, Mary Magdalene. Thank you, Mary Magdalene. Okay, so this is beautiful. It's talking to the work that we're doing here, why we're doing the work. I want to leave us with divine feminine energy to lean into. Divine feminine energy, who can we lean into as we continue on this journey of darkness and light, the anger that comes from having to transmute the wounds inflicted by the construct, the path that we are walking. Some of us believe we chose the path. Some may not believe that, and all beliefs in that regard are welcome here. This is who's hanging out with us. I can't show this card because she is naked. Let's do this. Okay. 6, 7, 8. That's interesting. Sacred Lust, Katesh. Katesh. I have no idea how that works. How that works in. So let's see what 6, 7, 8. Huh. That's interesting. Let's see. 26. 2, 6. We have a 2. I don't know. Let's see. Katesh. Temple of Lovers. It's a fire element, so it's definitely in the energy of this first quarter waxing fire moon. Katesh, the mistress of the gods, is the Egyptian goddess of sacred sexuality, ecstasy, and fertility. Her guidance. You are an erotic creature. You have divine right to experience sensual ecstasy. It is sacred to give and receive pleasure. The embodiment offering, you deserve to feel good. It feels good to feel good, so allow yourself to feel good. Lean into your sacred lust. Turn up your own fire and quench your thirst. Dance with pleasure. You daring to embrace your sensuality will set the world on fire. Actually, it's very Aries, right? It's a very Aries energy. The goddess declaration is it feels good to feel good. So it might be offering you a reminder to balance out that you get to be both in the sort of seriousness of healing wounds that you that you experienced and are processing during the dark moon, particularly if it's something around infringement on your sovereignty related to your body, which likely is the case because of how prevalent patriarchy is, and patriarchy is to divorce us from our body and also to create power over our experience of ourselves, our body, for those of us who identify as women, also over our sexuality. Our sensuality is corrupted and made into a sexual thing. So there might be some energy there around taking that back and using the fire of the first quarter moon to bring you into an understanding of, that which we've been told about ourselves is not what is true about ourselves in the light. But in order to see what we've been told in the darkness, that darkness, that time we spent in that dark moon energy makes it possible to see our true selves, and that might create, rage. or anger, but in there. Sorry about that, folks. My battery died. Anyway, so that energy, this is specific message for somebody around taking back one's power over their experience of their human body, and particularly one's sexuality and relationship to sensuality. Again, the goddess declaration is, it feels good to feel good. Turn up your own fire and quench your thirst. Dance with pleasure. You daring to embrace your sensuality will set the world on fire. So a good both end going on here. I'm going to leave this here for whomever it is. Thank you for hanging out. In this particular thread, we'll be back at the waning. The waning. The waning third quarter moon. I'll see you there. Take care of yourselves.